Hey everybody, it's David R. Becker here with BeckerArt, and today I want to talk to you about, again, this week, like last week, we're talking a little bit about watercolor and designing your photographs, or when you're out there on the spot doing plein air, it's also a way of showing you how to do a good composition between your lights and darks. Or with this week, we're going to be talking a little bit about Notan. Notan is a Japanese word for design in the positive and negative design of the image. And so let's go right into this and just show you what I'm talking about. So here we're going to take a colored image. I'm going to take a color photographs, and you can also do this with sketching. You can, when you're sketching on the spot, you're going to make your image to black and white. You're not going to look for the middle tones. Yes, you are going to look for middle tones, but you assign them to either be in part of the light, white, or part of the black, the dark. And so if you look at this image here and you see this is very dark and this is a middle tone. Middle tones are the ones where you have to designate them to be either in the light or the dark. And so for this one, since it's a photograph, I put it into Photoshop and then I turn it to posterize it to where I'm only using black and white. First off, what you do is you make it black and white. So you look at your image black and white. But what I can do here, because I'm using Photoshop a lot, I can just take the image that's colored and then make it a black and white. Now there is still some middle tone back here, but pretend like you don't see that because this basically all back here is part of your dark. And see, even though this middle tone is middle tone and this is middle tone, the design element of Notan is that it is black. This should be the black, and so that shows you the big picture of black and white. And it works. This works as a very nice composition. Yes, knowing that we will be making this a middle tone, but this middle tone will be more into the dark middle tone, where this middle tone, like anywhere in the sky, has some middle tone too, but that's more for the light. This middle tone over here, which is pretty light, right? You think it's almost as light as the water, but we're not going to make it anything like this middle tone, or this middle tone, like the sky or the water. We're going to keep it to the more of a dark part of the design. That's design. That's not about the color scheme and not about that. It's just the black and white design of the element. Okay, so let's go to our next image. And so let's take something that's a little bit more complicated here. And we're going to take this one, which is, hold on one second here. I'm going to take this off. And we have a color version of trees. And this one didn't make a good composition between lights and darks when I turned it black and white. Why? Because there's so much black and white all over the place. So you have all this dark, and all this dappled light all throughout. So the composition is not that great. It would be hard to paint this and make it look good, like there's distance or something overlapping, because you just have a lot of black and white all over the place. So this one you'd have to work on. You would have to do something to it, like make these tree branches, maybe the leaves, they can be all light. And so make it more of a light, larger areas of light and dark. Make it a more simplified composition. Maybe this right here, this shadow could be in part of the light, or make these leaves in the back lighter. See how it's all really dark, dark, dark? And it really is not a great design. So this, I wanted to show you one that wasn't such a great design so that you can see what something that doesn't look so good compared to something like this, which is a night scene, which is usually easy for black and whites because it's everything that's lit up is a light and everything that's dark around it in the sky is all black, right? So it's a little bit easier when it comes to designing a night scene because things are dark already. Big lights and darks. It can be very complicated. Like if I were just taking an image, let's say I took the image just through here, then it'd be a little bit harder to make a big area of lights and darks. Again, you're designing the elements so that it's big lights and big darks. So if I make it show you a black and white here, then you see that this is the big light and everything else is dark, right? Now, if you look over here, there is some middle tone in here that I think I would maybe put more towards the light. It didn't happen when I made it in the photograph, but if I were doing a sketch of this, I would maybe put this middle tone, I'd make that into the light part because it'd be kind of a neat to have this kind of go up like this, like a U-shaped light. And then the secondary light would be way back there. It could be these lights back here. Now, again, this is just black and white. We're not talking about color. And that's at the end of this talk, I'll explain that at the very end, how color then can also help out your design element. But right now we're talking about Notan, where it's about the black and white. It's basically black and white of the elements and the design of that. Now we're going to take this one here, a big flower. And so with a big flower like this, if I squint my eyes, it's one way of taking and making the image look like values. Instead of having color, you squint your eyes and look at the picture, you'll see that this light right here, the flower, all these leaves in front are kind of like your lights and a few lights over here, right? But now if I take and make it black and white, watch this. It almost is too, like it didn't make these leaves. The computer decided that these leaves were just as dark as the background. So that happens sometimes because the computer is generating this whole area and thinking that this could be part of the dark. So I would then, as the artist, go in here and go, okay, this maybe is part of the light area instead of the dark. And so then right through here, I would make that a light, and that would make a better big area of light and dark. This is too dappled all over. I mean, it could work because it'd be like a night scene where, you know, you don't have this, but where's your secondary? This could be your secondary light and part of the design, because this is really scattered all over the place, and scattered all over the place is not the best way of showing a big value pattern of lights and darks. And you know, I know if you do this photo just like it looks, it would look fine. It would look like this because you'd have the different colors, different values. And so yes, the leaves are green and it would be all dark, and if anything like this, it would look okay. But when we're painting that's more abstract, not abstract shapes, and it's good to have it more centered where, you know, when you're not doing photorealism, that you need to have your value pattern a little bit more substantial and not just copying the photograph to a T. And so sometimes they have to watch out when you're doing this with Photoshop. It may sometimes not give you a great looking value pattern. And so that's where you, the artist, decide what is a good value pattern. And it's usually large lights and darks, black and white. When I say large lights and darks, I'm meaning a black and white, Notan, where that's what I want you to get, is the black and white composition. So if we go a few more here, let me just, again, the more I show you, the better I'll get at it, hopefully. So here we're starting with the black and white. I didn't have a color version of this. And if you look back here, some of these, if I'm squinting my eyes, this back here is pretty dark, right? There's some darks back here that are just as dark as in the foreground. But now we're going to decide, and we're just going to take the next image and posterize it. And so see what we get now. The background is just as dark, and the boats in front are just as dark. But now this looks like it's in the same field as like in the foreground. So it's not as great a design because you have things all over the place again. So watch this now. When I take it and I show you how to then make that background, bring these buildings from the background into the light. So now this middle tone is more towards the light now, and look at how much distance you get on that. But the composition of lights and darks, black and white, is better because now these buildings are in the background and part of the light, and making it simpler composition between the lights and darks. I mean, the opposite way. The lights and darks, because all the darks are in the foreground, all the lights are in the background. Very simple design, very great design. And look at the difference between this design and that design. Which one is better? This one is definitely better. It's my center of interest is in this area. I have the background going to the back. It's a great element to have this grays back there because it pushes it back. And even if it is like this, as an artist, I want to give it more drama, and I want to give it better design than what it is. If it's in real nature, you want to make it a better design than what it is. If it's not great design, so you make it as the artist better, and that's how come this would. If you painted just like the photograph, you would not get that look like you do down here, and you get the dimension and also better design. This is definitely a better design than this. These buildings are just so complicated with too much darks back up on top and in the back, so you wouldn't want that. All right, and so I think we have a few more to show you. Just the more the better. Now this one here, these back here, this one again is a black and white image, and here I'm not even going to make it posterized because I can almost want you to squint your eyes on this one and just see the lights. And it's a really nice design because it's not half and half either. I know that like the yin yang thing is half and half, but I like in design it's always better to have a little bit more dark than light, or a little bit more light than dark. So off balance it so that it's like, instead of 50-50 of black and white, make it like 40-60. That's a better design. Just so that it's not the exact same. It's just, it feels better. Anything odd numbered is always better than even. Then again, if you do a formal or informal composition, that's also depends on that too. If you're doing a formal composition, yes, even is fine and stuff. And we don't want to get into that yet. But so go with a Notan to get your values to black and white. Get those middle tones, make them either black or white. I guarantee you'll be thanking me when you start doing this. Now here we have a colored version, but the color version has a lot of grays in it, a lot of middle tone. And so here it shows you that not only can you use the Notan for black and white, but you know, you want to look at your composition later on. The more and more you learn about this right over on the right here, this is Notan, black and white, but then you take it one step farther, you can start using your color to direct your eye and make it a better composition too. So these lights in here are more colorful, more warm, and as I go back, and the design element is this. So in here you don't really see this as lights, because this could be a little dappled, this could be part of the light too, because we have a little bit of light up here. And so it's a better design, the fact that we have this warmth back here. And even though it's all black on this in Notan, then we can also put color later on to make the color be part of your design element and design composition. But like again, this is just getting a little bit more advanced, but take your image, turn them black and white, posterize them, make them a Notan so that it's black and white, and look at your composition. Look to see how well it looks. It's so much easier to make your compositions look well, and make them big, broad areas of black and white. What I want you to do is I'm going to be asking in my next video on Thursday, I'm going to ask you guys to send me in my email, and also I'm going to ask you here in this video a lot too, is send me some pictures that you want to have done, because I want to do a little video of taking your photographs, and I want to show you what you would do with them. Because sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. You have to either do one thing or another, and to make it a good design element. And I will turn them black and white. I will posterize them, and I want to show you if they're a good or bad composition. So send me those to my, go to my website at BeckerArt.net, and my email address is BeckerArt@gmail.com, and just send them, and I will then take them and put them in a video for probably next week. I just again want to show you, it's not going to be for the newsletter, it's going to be just because I want to show you guys how important this is to make your images black and white and make the Notan. It's a Japanese way of design, and like the yin yang, but it's also a way of us watercolors can really make our images and our compositions great and so easy. I find that the easier something is for my students, the better. So until next Thursday, or until this Thursday when I'll see you, we'll be doing a paint along. And if you want to follow along with that paint along, you can. Also get my newsletter on Tuesday. Go to my website at BeckerArt.net, and you get all the information, everything I do. All right, and so until next Thursday, until Thursday, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.